Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle. One of the funnest aspects of this game is pushing units and, hell, entire teams to their limits and seeing just how they perform in battle. However, one of the more common criticisms of this game are that many cards have some rather restrictive active skill conditions, where some characters have an easier time scoring these conditions, others, yeah, not so much. While some of these criticisms can be exaggerated and are subjective in a way, and heck, some of them even wrong to an extent, it is true that some cards in the game have active skill conditions that range from mediocre to abysmal. In fact, some conditions are so bad that you're honestly better off pretending that the card doesn't have one. This applies to the unit we'll be looking at today, Super Saiyan Gohan, the AGL Dokkan Fest LR. Gohan is kind of a meme within the Dokkan community. On one hand, he could deal a great amount of damage while posing as a brick wall, but on the other, he is heavily memed on for having one of the most restrictive active skill conditions in the game. In saying that though, the Super Saiyan 1 form is actually ridiculously strong in long events, having an extra 5 ki and 170% to his attack and defense when maxed out. On top of having literally 16 categories, this lets him fit on many teams that could use some bulk. However, a massive criticism with his card was the design of his active skill conditions. For context, in case you don't know, there's 3 ways to trigger it. For all 3 conditions, your HP has to be 58% or less. And then from there, either an Android 16 character has to be on the team, you have to be facing an existing Androids category enemy starting from the 5th turn from the start of battle, or you have to have an Androids category ally on the team starting from the 5th turn from the start of battle. Apparently they tried being consistent with the anime, but in doing that they ended up crippling the card's potential itself. That's what we'll be addressing. However, we won't be giving him a hot fix or an easy as he doesn't really need one. In fact, we actually won't be changing part of his active skill at all. You might be thinking, well, Rusher, or Rune if you're on the Scythe server, how do you plan on buffing Gohan without changing any of the card itself? There's no way you could possibly fix him without changing him up, right? I mean, look at him trash-ass conditions. And I agree, they are trash. But there is one way we can do it. One way we can help our boy ascend to the iconic Super Saiyan 2 form without changing the card itself. And all without a support member that forces transformations, a random hotfix specifically for him, or an EZA that he doesn't need. And this will come in the form of Android 16. Now, you can technically do this already, but it's very specific as you'd have to have the Intelligence Android 16, the LR Gohan, and a lead Intelligence LR Cell, which most people won't have all 3 of. You could also get the active skill by running something like LR Cell on Kamehameha, or something as ridiculous as Android 21 on Transformation Boost. But even then, you're stuck waiting 5 turns and have to be under 58% health, which is a bit much and almost not realistic on the teams you'd be building with this guy. That's where our new Android 16 comes in. This new Android 16 will be AGL, so you can run him under Gohan's sub-leader without having to worry about waiting 5 damn turns and getting your ass kicked just to ascend. But why stop there? Making a card specifically for Gohan to transform seems kind of lame and unfair. Besides, we could do much better than that. He'll share the same 4 categories as the Intelligence 16, and will have Final Trump card as a 5th category. You'll see why later. Then, we will let him lead Android Cell Saga and Artificial Lifeforms for 3 ki and 130 to all stats. And for the heck of it, we'll give him his Tech Android 16 Dragon Ball FighterZ art. Now you might be thinking his leader skill is quite low, but I should point out that this will not be a Dokkan Fest unit. Instead, he'll be a general pool unit. So with all that done, let's continue building the big man. The first thing we are going to do with our new Android 16 is give him a couple of start of turn buffs. 160% to his attack and defense at the start of the turn, with an additional 60% to his attack whenever he fires a super. Now, something that I feel like I should point out, because not many people actually know this fact, is that any buff gained from the attacking phase, like attacking, dodging, or taking a hit, is always calculated separately from any buff that you will get at the start of the turn. So instead of gaining a total stat of 220%, it's going to be a whopping 360% to his attack after supering. This may seem a little busted, but you need to remember, because he's a general pool unit, we're going to be making him do supreme damage. Not immense, so it levels out. But why stop there? After all, if we're going to be making an AGL Android 16, we don't want him to only function as a catalyst to Gohan's ascension. We also want him to be a great option to the teams you can run him on. So let's give him some support buffs. Android 16 will give himself and all other allies 2 ki and 16% to attack and defense, and another 16% attack and defense to androids in Cell Saga. And sure, while we're at it, let's help out Artificial Lifeforms by giving them an additional 16% attack. This will also help out units like LR Cell. Now that we've gotten all those stat buffs out of the way, let's work on some slice of life upgrades, shall we? One thing we'll be giving Android 16 is the ability to guard. We're not going to make it guaranteed, as 16 will already be tanky as hell in general content with what we'll be giving him in a bit. Heck, This won't even be a problem in hard content, so having him just guard everything would be pointless if he's not going to take damage anyway. Instead, we'll make it a great chance to guard all attacks. While many might not agree with this, you'll see in a second why I didn't make it guaranteed. Moving on to the super attack itself, I decided to give him LR Android 16's version of the Health Flash, as I'm sure we can agree that this super attack isn't seen that often. As I said earlier, the super itself will cause supreme damage, but what we'll be doing is giving it both a greatly raises attack buff for one turn, and a massively raises defense buff for one turn, which increases the super attack multiplier by 50% and defense by 100%. But we're going to be making a few tweaks. Android 16's buffs will be giving him 66% to the SA multiplier and 116% defense. Yeah, we're going all the way with this one. This is why I gave him a great chance to guard instead of letting him flat out guard everything. Now let's get to the icing on the cake. As I'm sure some of you are wondering, how on earth are we supposed to get Gohan's active skill to activate if 16 is this bulky? Don't worry, I thought of that too, which is why I gave Android 16 an active skill. I'm sure you know where this is going, but let's break it in anyway. Android 16's active skill will cause immense damage, not ultimate, and will also perform a critical hit for the attack. The final cherry on top will be that it will drop your health by 50%, so be prepared to fully commit if you do use it. As for the conditions, I wasn't just going to let it happen turn 1 as that would be way too easy and obvious. So instead, I decided on above 70% health by the third turn. Relatively easy to trigger, and you're not going to straight up one-shot events in 3 turns anyways unless you're deliberately trying to do so. Besides, it's more like a final gamut type of move anyway, so I wouldn't use it until you have the defense to back it up. And with that, not only are we finished with Android 16's brand new card, but we've also buffed LRT and Gohan's active skill without even touching it. Really, this was all he actually needed. No unnecessary EZA, no hotfix, just a straight up Android 16 unit who is AGL so he could go on Gohan's team and helps him easily access his active skill after the third turn, who happens to be a self-sufficient character you can also throw on androids, artificial life forms, and so on. So with all of this done, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, what can the big man do? How's about we go in and find out?